Test your might. Test your might. Test your might. Test your might. Mortal Kombat!
This video essay is going to be a bit of a different formula from usual. Out the gate, I'm going to say this real quick. This movie absolutely slaps. And I don't care what anyone else says, and I'm not going to take much time to defend my case. I've already made like 5 mini-vids about this movie in my Unfair Combat series. Please check them out. Please give them a like and a comment. With only 1 comment a week, you can help feed a starving idiot and his handsome cat. In my opinion, this is the best video game movie adaptation ever. And I don't care if you think Sonic is better, because that movie's made for babies.
Gotta go fast.
And the only reason people say the new Mortal Kombat movie is any good is basically because it isn't completely bad. That's it. And by the way, the new Mortal Kombat movie has a higher rating than the classic one, and that's a historical crime. MLK's assassination was led by the government. MK Ultra force-fed acid to mental patients only to try and determine its viability as a mind-controlling entheogen. And this isn't my Liu Kang. Thanks to the supporters of my channel, we've successfully managed to raise the Ninja Turtles movie on IMDb by a single point so far. So my call to action with this video is getting the OG MK rating above the new one. We all have a hill to die on, and I guess this is my calling in life. Raise the rating, my nostalgically inebriated lonely old friends. Anyway, I'd listen to an argument saying that the new Mario Bros movie is better than the OG MK. But even if you got me high enough to agree with you,
how you feeling, man? I'm pretty lucky. Say what? I'm fine. What?
The fact remains that movie came out almost 30 years after the first Mortal Kombat movie. And all we had in between was Uwe Boll. If you don't know who Uwe Boll is, he's a German filmmaker who made a slew of incredibly bad video game adaptations that got absolutely roasted by critics and fans of the games. But instead of just chilling on his L, he invited all of his online trolls to come box him in real life.
You fight me, then I will kick the shit out of you.
And he proceeded to kick the living schnitzel out of every last nerd who thought he was coming in light. Incredible. But honestly, you can maybe argue that the first Resident Evil movie was better, and so it does warrant mentioning that Paul W.S. Anderson directed both of them. And even though I think that movie is great, it pales in comparison in cinematography and set pieces, but more importantly, doesn't hold a candle to how culturally significant the Mortal Kombat movie was at the time, and also doesn't capture the true tone of the Resident Evil games like the Mortal Kombat movie does. Don't believe me about the cinematography and sets? Check out these shots from the movie. Beautiful set, beautiful shot, beautiful goddamn framing. This movie was literally everything we could have wanted it to be as a kid. Not to mention that goddamn theme song. That theme song kicking in raised more fear in the hearts of 90s parents than Bastards did in 2012 after that dude ate someone's fucking face. Jesus. If you played the Mortal Kombat song loud enough on one of these bad boys in the 90s, someone was getting hurt. Real talk. The amount of times we beat the hell out of each other on trampolines while blaring this song was crazy. When I was 8, someone played this song and I literally saw my 80-pound white stick of a friend compulsively charge up like a Super Saiyan, run and jump off this weird-ass brown couch we all had, and try to shadow kick into a punching bag, only to completely miss and snap his tiny, stupid little arm in 2 places. The 90s was rad. I went and visited him in the hospital, bought him a Spawn comic, and we ate Dunkaroos. And then his mom told us that she was banning the song from their house forever. Oh, and fun fact, the filmmakers had to fight to get the theme song into the movie at all, since producers were all dumbasses and wanted like pop tracks and like indie tracks and whatever was hot at the time. But the final soundtrack was almost entirely electronic, and thusly became the first EDM album to ever go platinum. Producers are dumb. The The Mortal Kombat game had the world in a frenzy. Parents were losing their minds because they thought the violence was too gory, which is crazy to think of today, but like back then it was a really big deal. This was complete madness at the time. Congress had debates about whether the game would cause us to uppercut each other in a spike pits or some shit. The Video Game Rating Council was formed as a direct result of MK, and video games got a restrictive rating for the first time ever. And somehow, a dude named Captain Kangaroo was integral to it all. Wild times. Something else I quickly want to mention is that there was basically only 3 video game movies made before this. Super Mario was kind of awesome, but kind of the worst thing since Reagan invented crack. Double Dragon was an absolute dumpster fire with an antagonist that was a farting chicken nugget. And Street Fighter was a movie about an American Air Force pilot acted by Belgium Jean-Claude Van Damme,
Welcome to the Shadaloo front.
who admitted he was banging out 10 grand worth of booger sugar a week in Thailand while cheating on his wife with Kylie Minogue, who was an Australian singer playing Cammy, a British intelligence agent.
We're busted. They know we're coming.
The Street Fighter movie is an absolute mess, but unlike the other 2 movies mentioned, it did okay at the box office, and it stars Raul Julia, who's an absolute boss. But that's a story for another day. Or I won't do it, I don't know yet, who cares. Another fun fact, Jean-Claude Van Damme actually turned down playing Johnny Cage in OGMK to star in Street Fighter, but Johnny Cage was literally based on Van Damme. That being said, Lyndon Ashby killed this role, even though he has the looks and personality of a cross between Ryan Reynolds and Dennis Reynolds. Also, Brandon Lee was going to play Liu Kang, which would have been amazing considering Liu Kang was based off his dad, Bruce Lee. But unfortunately, Brandon tragically passed away while filming The Crow a year prior. But since we're on the topic of Bruce Lee, I want to point out a theory of mine that I had years ago. This movie's whole entire plot is a rip-off of Enter the Dragon. Now I'm gonna assume if you're watching a video essay about the original Mortal Kombat movie, you're probably old and sad and lonely just like me. But for those who are looking up Mortal Kombat because you're young and care about the new game, but the algorithm lured you into my dusty nut and nostalgia-based opium den, let me explain. Enter the Dragon essentially heralded the introduction of Eastern martial arts to a Western market, and is widely considered one of the most important martial art films of all time. It's wild because before I even began making video essays, I had the theory these 2 movies share a similar plot. So when I decided to make this channel, I had it written in my notes that this was one of the first videos I was going to make, and it was going to outline these parallels. To be honest, I thought I was pretty damn smart for figuring this one out on my own, and so I was excited to bring the theory up in an essay. But while I was looking up stupid clips to intercut into this essay to cater to the attention span of the TikTok generation,
Oh, you have napkins?
I'm not doing it. I don't even want to be around anymore.
What?
I don't want to be around anymore.
I figured I may as well see if anybody else had a similar essay. And to my horror, but also to my amusement, here's the first video that popped up. Also, this video was made 8 years ago. Also, this video has over 600,000 views. So it turns out I'm not the only one who knows about this theory. I actually reached out to the owner of the channel, J. Matthew Turner, and gave him his props and asked him if I could use this video in my essay. And much to my surprise, he responded and gave me permission. There's a link to his channel in the description. And this is actually awesome because it's way better than I would have done and saved me a solid 3 hours of video editing and recording, which frees me up to work on other side projects like this.
It's a baby cobra.
Easy. No way.
Oh, that's
dude.
a good gulp. Oh, he's shaking.
Wow.
But without further ado, here's a comparison video clip.
Mortal Kombat and Enter the Dragon are the same movie. It's the story of a Shaolin monk who is coerced into competing in a multi-annual tournament held on an island reachable by a boat that leaves from a pier in Hong Kong. His younger sibling having been killed by a conspirator of this tournament, the monk has a personal vendetta against this individual. En route to the tourney, the monk meets a rich Caucasian playboy with too much luggage and takes some of his money. He also meets a non-Asian, non-white male fighter. Once on the island, the competitors are greeted with a large feast, where their host, a middle-aged Asian man, uses his underlings to passive-aggressively threaten them. The defending champion is the largest, most muscular fighter on the island, and his name follows the pattern consonant O, consonant O. The monk soon finds a sexy informant, and the token diversity character defeats an Australian competitor. Later, the Playboy defeats the defending champion whose name is Consonant O with a shot to the balls. And the proprietor of the tournament defeats the token diversity character. The monk then battles his way into a special chamber where the proprietor can metaphorically become multiple people. Ultimately, the Shaolin monk triumphs by propelling the middle-aged Asian man backward and impaling him onto a spike. Mortal Kombat and Enter the Dragon are the same movie.
Now, it could be argued that the movie was written as a homage to Enter the Dragon, because the similarities are legitimately too glaring to overlook. But maybe it was just a lazy way for the writers to establish a roadmap when they were making the plot of OGMK, and they simply interjected certain plot points from the established lore of the games. That being said, I kinda think that a lot of the crazy ass plot holes are a result of the writers trying to force said plot points into the narrative mold of Enter the Dragon. Ultimately, this doesn't really hurt the viewing experience of the film, but it can't be denied that the convoluted amalgamation definitely results in a bunch of character motivation and world building making no sense in hindsight.
The show where everything's made up and the points don't matter.
So let's start near the beginning. So as some of you might know, the whole premise of Mortal Kombat is that when one realm wishes to conquer another realm, the Elder Gods have decreed that the invasion can't take place until the attacking realm has won 10 consecutive tournaments.
To enter the realm of Earth, the Emperor's demon sorcerer Shang Tsung and his warriors have to win 10 straight victories in Mortal Kombat.
So that's a pretty straightforward rule we can throw up on the board. Here's another straightforward one. The attacking realms fighters can't attack the defending realms fighters until the tournament starts.
Your sideshow freaks attack my fighters. That is expressly forbidden before the tournament.
Yep, pretty simple stuff so far. I kind of assumed that the fighters had to be from their respective realms, but Shang Tsung recruits Kano. So I guess the rule is the attacking realm can recruit fighters from the other realms as long as they're Australians. Because Australia is basically a forsaken continent of frat boys, which is probably not that different from Outworld.
Shang Tsung is a great sorcerer. The wise cultivate his favor. Those who challenge his power become his slaves.
Australians may know a thing or two about slaves.
Sorry.
Well, I'll just put that on the board. Also, you cannot win Mortal Kombat through treachery.
Mortal Kombat cannot be won by treachery.
Put that on the board. But wait, Shang Tsung uses treachery to recruit Johnny Cage. Okay, so you can affect the outcome of Mortal Kombat through treachery, but only before the tournament begins. Alright, put that on the board, simple stuff. But wait, let's stop for a second. Shang Tsung only recruits Kano so he can coax Sonya into the tournament, which kind of begs the question, why did he also coerce Johnny into the tournament as well, if he knows he's a powerful fighter from Earthrealm? It literally never explains why. But I'ma chalk that one up to shoehorning Enter the Dragon into the plot, so let's put that on the board. Alright, not bad so far. Also, Mortal Kombat must be fought one-on-one, except in this scene. Alright, so Mortal Kombat must be fought one-on-one unless there's at least 150 lit candles in the room. Sweet. Let's throw that up on the board. Also, fighters must accept a challenge to combat or they'll forfeit that win. On the board, yeah. Also, combat is to the death. Yeah, on the board. Well, except this one fight with Katana and Liu Kang. Because of exposition and plot? Put that on the board. Before I get attacked by die-hard nerds, I want to mention that I researched this one, and in the game it said that Liu Kang spares her and keeps this a secret. But in the movie, it's right in front of Shang Tsung. So don't at me, nerds, I'm on your side. The screenwriters could have fixed this error by respecting the MK lore pretty easily, but it's not my fault they didn't. Also, we can infer pretty easily through the narrative that there's no bracket system. Board. Also, there's no clear amount of fighters from either side, so I guess each realm can have whatever amount of fighters they like. Board? But the only thing that matters is if the reigning champion is defeated, as this would reset the consecutive win streak of that realm. Board. So in the video game, it's explained that Liu Kang's ancestor Kung Lao beat Shang Tsung a long time ago, but then he was defeated by Goro, so now Goro is the reigning champion of 9 consecutive wins. But Goro defeats like 55 of the Earthrealm fighters in a row. So how is it decided when the fight between Goro and a fighter from the Earthrealm actually matters for the championship bout? because Goro just killed those 45 men, but that didn't end it. But that must be because there's at least 3 Earthrealm fighters left? Johnny, Sonya, and Liu Kang. So I guess the rule is, final combat is initiated when there's only 1 defending realm fighter left. Bored. But then this scene happens.
Challenging Goro, eh? You weren't supposed to fight him now. As you wish. In return, I reserve the right to challenge the winner myself. Or another of my choosing. In a place designated by me for the final battle of the tournament.
Oh man. So... goddamn, breaking down the narrative significance of the scene took me hours and gave me such a migraine, but here we go. If a fighter from the defending realm challenges the reigning champion before the defending realm only has 1 fighter left, this nullifies it as final combat, and thus doesn't count as breaking the consecutive win streak of a realm. Bored. If this rule is enacted, then one of the remaining fighters from the challenging realm may step in as the auxiliary reigning champion and challenge a fighter of their choosing in final combat, and a victory will apply to the current win streak of said realm. Bored. But put it on the board. And this fight can take place anywhere. Bored. I want to point out this effectively completely undermines the tournament, Goro as a champion, Johnny's brave stand, and probably a bunch of other stuff I don't want to overthink anymore. I wanted to chalk this one up to fitting the plot into Enter the Dragon narrative, but in the game you have to fight Shang Tsung after Goro, so I looked into it, and after way too much research into the lore, the clearest reason why is because the tournament had been corrupted over time. Outworld could make up pretty much any rules, and Shang Tsung fighting was a failsafe. Again, the screenwriters could have explained this movie plot hole away with like 1 line of dialogue and spare me from whatever the hell I'm currently doing right now. But since Movie Raiden just agrees to this rule, whatever. Here we are. Let's continue. Sonya never verbally agrees to the fight, but this doesn't count as a forfeit. So the next rule is that if the auxiliary reigning champion clause is enacted, then the defending realm fighter must agree to Mortal Kombat. But if they don't agree, they don't forfeit. Bored?
There's one last rule.
She has to accept the challenge, or there can be no final combat.
Sonya's friends show up and Shang Tsung wants them seized.
Seize them!
Stay where you are! Would you dare interfere with the tournament? And betray our emperor?
But this would count as treachery, so I guess that's a rule for the board. Yep, another one for the board. So Shang Tsung tries to challenge Johnny, but Liu Kang challenges Shang Tsung, which means Shang Tsung has to agree to final combat. Another simple one for the board. Final combat begins, and after an incredible amount of backwards elbows, Shang Tsung comes out of the gate with a backwards elbow, followed by a backwards elbow, followed by a backwards elbow. Liu Kang counters with a backwards elbow, followed by a backwards elbow. Shang Tsung answers that with a backwards elbow, followed by a backwards elbow. Liu Kang counters that with a backwards elbow, followed by a backwards elbow. And then they both go for a backwards elbow, which counts as out both backwards elbows. Shang Tsung summons fighters from eras past to fight Liu Kang. Thusly, during final combat, the auxiliary reigning champion may break Rule 6 and utilize additional fighters so long as they are physical representations of fighters whose souls reside in said auxiliary reigning champion. Put it on the board! Liu Kang wins, thusly fulfilling the terms established by Rule 11, breaking the win streak of Outworld and granting him championship status. However, Shao Kahn invades Earthrealm anyway. So I guess the Emperor of the attacking realm may nullify rules 1 through 15 at any point, rendering the entire purpose of Mortal Kombat as a rule set and as a movie, in general, completely pointless. Put that on the board and erase the board. Wow, that went way further than I wanted. I honestly just wanted to quickly gloss over how the rules don't make sense, but I truly didn't realize how many of the rules make no sense, and in classic CineMattersToMe fashion, this video is way longer than I wanted it to be. That all being said, I honestly don't think these plot holes take away from the overall experience in the slightest. Most people who love the games don't really care about the inconsistencies or anachronisms of the story modes.
The Black Dragon died with Kano. You're the last one, Jarek.
Never!
And if everyone I've talked to who loves this movie, only a couple have ever mentioned that the rules don't make sense. And if they do, we just laugh about it and write it off as another endearing element. Like how the flawless victories don't make any sense.
Flawless victory. Flashback. End of flashback.
The only real flawless victory is in this scene.
Flawless victory.
And with Johnny Cage. And Shang Tsung just steals Sonya Blade instead of announcing it. Honestly, how did the writers mess that up? Like, I get a lot of the fight choreography is made up on the day, but that's why we have script supervisors. Way to go, this guy. But again, in the grander scope of the movie in general, these don't take away from the experience, and I can't understate how incredible of an experience this was as a kid. All we had for video game movies at the time were Mario Bros, Double Dragon, and Street Fighter. And something all three of those movies share in common is that even as a kid, you were confused as hell by both the plot and the creative direction.
Apparently you're spinning around, and apparently every time you get dizzy, that's all you do is get dizzy.
And although there's glaring holes in the logic of the Mortal Kombat movie, it undeniably flows in a very digestible, streamlined direction. 3 fighters are recruited because they each have motivations to propel them.
Your ego, your enemy, or your quest for revenge.
They end up at a tournament where people fight, said people fight, the bad guys get beaten. Simple. Now, try and explain to me the plot of the Street Fighter movie. Even if you're unironically a sincere diehard fan of the movie, I guarantee you can't explain the plot. But within the first 20 minutes of Mortal Kombat, each of the characters' motivations are explained, and they're on the boat to the tournament. Matter of fact, Liu Kang doesn't even believe in supernatural-based tournaments at first.
Raiden? Grandfather, get up! This isn't your god of thunder and lightning. He's just a beggar.
And you know what? This is him 3 minutes later.
You really are, Raiden.
No, that's some real pacing. This is what people want out of a movie based on an action video game. Hell, this is what people want out of an action movie in general. If the IP is based on well fleshed out and philosophical lore, don't oversimplify the complicated. And in the case of something like this, don't overcomplicate the simple. Make the simple fun, make the simple immersive, and that feeling will resonate deeply and timelessly if you respect source material enough to simply give the audience what they want. And in my opinion, this is the greatest strength of OGMK. They knew their assignment, and they did exactly what they were supposed to do in the best way they could. This movie didn't even need to look as amazing as it does. They already had us. But honestly, look at this set. That is absolutely gorgeous, even by today's standards. In fact, I don't remember a single set from the new Mortal Kombat movie coming close to looking this good. Look at the background of the set of Scorpion's realm. That's hundreds of man-hours of meticulous care. I rewatched this recently with a bunch of people who work in film, and that actually blew our minds watching it back as adults. As a kid, I was completely transfixed and lost in the sauce. But as an adult, the set design is insane. Tiny throwaway scenes like this one are shot as beautifully as possible. And Johnny Cage is literally just explaining how he's gonna punch someone in the dick in the next scene. Fight Island looks amazing, with its composite shots of Thailand, with tastefully reserved CGI touches. Outworld looks incredibly expansive despite their whole journey, and they're basically showing this one wall on one street, and then this one little room where he fights Reptile. Let's not even get started on Goro. These animatronics are mind-blowing, even by today's standards. But as a kid, I honestly couldn't even process the amount of neurochemicals the sight of this gigantic monster released in my tiny, weird, stupid little brain. I know the fight scene with Goro in the new Mortal Kombat movie is obviously much more dynamic to watch, but I guarantee that the visceral impact the new Goro had on the audience comes nowhere near the impact it had on audiences in 1995. And to be honest, the fight choreography really did stand out at the time. For the most part, the fights aren't that long, but they are incredibly inventive and high-paced and showcase some truly impressive skills. Do some of the suits look silly? Yeah. Does the CGI Reptile look terrible? Oh yeah. Is it crazy how Reptile was made? Yeah. But here is how you get Reptile in the game.
First, the game must be in single-player mode. You must be at the pit stage. A shadow must fly past the moon in the background, which unfortunately doesn't always happen. You must win the fight with 2 flawless victories. You must perform a fatality at the end. And lastly, you cannot block at all.
So the movie still kind of makes more sense in that regard. Does the theme get set up by Raiden about protagonists overcoming their personal flaws to work as a team? Yes. Does it ever happen? No, not at all. But this doesn't matter, because we're not here to watch our favorite fighting game characters give incoherent speeches and then get into espionage boat chases like the goddamn Street Fighter movie. And also, this was the monster from Street Fighter. And this was Goro. I think it's goddamn tragic how history has been unkind to this movie when it went to such great lengths to establish a tone and atmosphere that captured the source material. It represented it so well, in fact, that it actually elevated it, and consequently, elements of the movie were adopted by subsequent MK games and are still present nearly 30 years later.
Your soul is mine.
This movie had logical flaws within its own lore and sensible continuity, but no more than nearly any beloved game franchise. Hell, the MK games lore became so convoluted, they essentially just rebooted it themselves like the DC cinematic universe, and arguably made it even more confusing. But that doesn't matter. The point of the movie wasn't about deep psychological drama or an existentially driven Christopher Nolan-esque plot. The point was to respect those who loved a franchise by paying homage to everything that makes it so important to them, and to deliver that in a package that truly bridges mediums to expand and elevate everything they love so deeply about the material. And the original Mortal Kombat movie accomplished this goal, and in my opinion, still holds up to this day. And the new one sucked ass, and this isn't my Liu Kang, and please raise the rating.